Welcome to another episode of Bleav in the Broncos on the Bleav Network, hosted by Bet Online. I am Patrick Chiotti. I'm one of your two hosts of this program. Joining me, as always, is former Denver Bronco, Super Bowl 50 champion, Chris Harris Jr. Chris, good to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just looking at this schedule, man. I'm pretty excited. Trying to figure out what game I'm going to be able to make it back. So it's gonna be an exciting year.
Yeah, you'll have plenty of opportunities to head to Denver. I know they'll be excited to see you in the building. The schedule release day is always a fun day across the NFL. We get great videos, we get good content from the social media team. Chris, your other former team, the LA Chargers, once again, man, just knock after knock after knock. The Sims schedule release video was classic. That was very good.
Yeah.
My personal favorite was the Falcons schedule release video, the NFL Street themed. We need that game back so bad. So bad.
Yeah, we did.
And now that was a good release video. But today we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos schedule release. We're going to highlight some games, and we are going to give our predictions for each game. Chris and I might have differing views on some of these games. We might have a different result for the season. That's okay. We're going to break it down all here on Bleav in the Broncos. And before we get into that, we've got a message from our sponsors. Bet Online is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats. It's all here. Are the Nuggets going to clinch tonight, Chris? Are they going to beat Minnesota?
Man, Jokic, the way he's been playing, he's pretty much been unstoppable the last 3 games. And Aaron Gordon, too. And now you see KCP hitting threes. It's going to – Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards got to have, those historic games tonight if they're going to be able to knock off Denver, because I think Jokic is playing with the guy now.
The MVP, man. He's playing his ass off.
Shaq made him mad.
Yeah, Shaq made him big mad. Bet Online will have all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. And where we're going to start, Chris, is with the Denver Broncos schedule for 2024. Whew. Starting off this season, Chris, we're going to be in Seattle. I don't like it, but we're going to be in Seattle. Chris, how do you feel about about them starting the season in Seattle?
I got Seattle winning this game, but I still believe this is a winnable game for Denver. Right, it's a new coach in Seattle. We really don't know what their identity is going to be. But when we look at the overall team in Seattle, they got a lot of playmakers. It's going to be a great matchup versus DK versus Pat Surtain, which I think Pat, he usually doesn't struggle with bigger receivers like DK. So I think he'll win that matchup. So it's about the other guys being able to stop Lockett, being able to stop Jackson, in the slot. And being able to contain Geno Smith and stop the run with Walker. That's going to be the key to that game. Can we stop Walker in the run in the backfield and being able to make this team one-dimensional? If we can do that, then we have a chance. And I think with the much improved D-line that we had, that we put together this offseason, we're better suited to do that. It just can't. I just don't know yet fully with the linebackers, and and then seeing how my safety is going to be able to fill gaps, right? That's something that you knew Justin Simmons was excellent at. Kareem Jackson was excellent at. So it's that's something that we got to be able to see.
Yeah. The last time we played in Seattle, Chris, was, of course, Russell Wilson's return to Seattle. That game, I was there. Oh, that was not a good game to be at. It was very it was – The red flags were there with the Nathaniel Hackett coaching staff, and watching that fourth quarter crumble at the end there. That was tough. But now Russ is gone. Bo Nix. Also, this is an important point. The NFL schedulers putting Bo Nix in his first NFL game in Washington, criminal. Absolutely criminal. Why are they doing this man like this? But Chris, week 2, the homecoming. Russell Wilson comes to Denver. We talked a little bit about this in the last show, but Chris, tell us a little bit about week 2 and what we can be expecting from the Broncos faithful when the Steelers and Mike Tomlin roll into town.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game, right? Anytime you play the Steelers, it's always gonna be a physical game. And if TJ Watt is healthy, I just don't see how we're gonna be able to stop him, right? Even with Bowles and McGlinchey, it's gonna be very tough to be able to stop him and their defense. Russ probably won't even have to do anything, right? And he'll be fairly comfortable going against, old guys that he knows. So I think Russ plays solid, and it's going to be a tough game versus Pittsburgh. So 2 games out the gate, are pretty not favorable matchups, physical teams that really, that are going to get them ready for the year, because think about it, last year we played finesse teams early. Yeah, we played finesse teams early, Dolphins, the spread, type offenses. But now we come out the game with power type run offenses, big backs that we got to be ready to go.
Yeah, and I mean, week 3 is another example of that. This Tampa Bay is a playoff team. I mean, they nearly beat Detroit in the playoffs, but this is another tough test. I think like those first 2 weeks, especially speaking for Bo Nix, like you have to go face a Mike McDonald defense, which is a very good defensive scheme. And they have a lot of great pieces up there in Seattle, and especially adding Byron Murphy to that defensive front. I'm sure Draymond Jones is going to want to get home against his former team. I'm sure he's seen all of the Zach Allen comparisons. But those are 2 really, really tough defenses for a rookie quarterback to face early on in the season. And then, having to go to Tampa Bay and play in that environment, having to go to New York.
4 games.
Yeah. I mean, 4 pretty solid defenses. There's still, we still have to see what Tampa Bay comes out with as far as defense goes. They lost, Shaq Barrett's gone. They don't really have like that alpha dog pass rusher. Secondary is fine. They just re-upped Winfield, so he's going to be there. But there's just some missing pieces that maybe we'll need to see come week 1 and 2 from Tampa Bay to really gauge that.
What makes Tampa's hard is Todd Bowles, right? Yeah. When you have a coach that just has new looks, it's the scheme part of it that'll have Bo Nix kind of pat the ball a little bit longer when you got to dissect the Todd Bowles scheme defense. Blitz is coming from everywhere. He's very aggressive. Right. So that's why I count them as a tough defense for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because if you haven't played against a Todd Bowles, or when you got to see what's the coach name? I think he went to the Vikings. He blitzes all the time. Flores. Brian Flores. Yeah. Like these type coaches are very hard for your first go around.
Oh yeah. Big
It'll be easier. He'll have an easier scheme going against the Jets in a Rob Saleh defense, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're running more cover 3 scheme. But it is that's what they do, right? But when you play Tampa Bay, right, they're gonna be coming from everywhere. So Bo's gonna definitely have to be ready.
Yeah, it's that first. I mean, the first 4 weeks last year, we were hoping and praying that this team was going to go 2-2. This is just a really tough gauntlet, and it's more so just from the defensive side. Like Seattle's gonna, they're gonna be pretty good on offense. I feel like they have had a year with Geno, and Smith and Jigba is gonna have a year under his belt. Tyler Lockett's very dependable. DK with Pat Surtain is going to be the matchup to watch. Pittsburgh's defense is going to be very solid, but Arthur Smith offense with Russell Wilson doesn't really match up. I did see somebody say like, watch Russell Wilson is going to throw for like 139 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks, and they're going to win this game. Like that's probably, that's just how good of a defensive team Pittsburgh is. Baker Mayfield had a great year last year with Tampa Bay. Him and Mike Evans are back. Like we still can't count them out. They get Bucky Irving in the draft as well. So now they've got 2 really powerful running backs. Like, this is going to be a tough first 4 weeks of the season. Chris, that first quarter is going to be tough. Let's move on to the second quarter. 2 straight home games against division opponents. And these are our first 2 division games of the season. The thing that you said last year that always rings true for me is these division games count as 2. How do you feel about these 2 home games back-to-back against division opponents?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be key to try to come out of that first quarter with 2 wins if we want to have a solid, successful season. But if they get 1, hopefully they can get beat the Steelers. That's probably about a team that's always on the border in the wild card at the end of the year. They're always like right there, counting on that last game. Yeah, I mean, it's like that every year, and Mike Tomlin squeaks in. But like you're saying, these 2 games versus the division games they're double, right? And you got to get, it's crucial to get those first 2, and you're at home, right? We got to protect the home. I thought last year we did terrible job of taking advantage of the home field advantage of the fans, the crowd. And it's tough to win on the road, man. So when you got these teams coming into the Mile High, that altitude, you gotta take advantage of that, man. We didn't last year, so it's crucial for us week 5 and 6 to come out hot, man. Versus Vegas, we don't really know what they're gonna look like on offense. Surtain's been able to lock up Adams, right? But everybody else has been able to have big games versus. Right. So we got to eliminate those other guys. I think the Raiders, we got to stop Bowers. Now we got to consider, we got to stop the tight end, right? That, they're going to implement to the offense, and which is going to be a big test for our safeties.
Yeah, big time. And Jim Harbaugh coming into Denver, his first divisional game against the Broncos will be week 6. I'm pretty excited to see Justin Herbert in that offense. I think that it would probably better suit him. I went back, Chris, and I looked, and outside of the Denver game when he got hurt in the first half, Justin Herbert had 1 game last year where he threw for less than 30 attempts. Less than 30 attempts. That number is going to be significantly lower, I feel like, this year. He is going to be running the football, and our run defense has to be up to the task. I think it's going to be a challenge. I'm still waiting to see, what they do with that defense, but they still have 2 of the more premier pass rushers in the game. And then they just added Bud Dupree as well. So who knows what that defense is going to look like by week 6. They might be completely dialed in. But Chris, week 7, man, Sean Payton going back to New Orleans for the first time, Thursday Night Football, another one of your former teams. And then week 8, Carolina. Talk about these 2 games and what we can expect from Denver.
This is where you could have one of those Bo rookie games, right? That could get pretty ugly. Going into the Dome Thursday night, it's going to be rocking in there, right? And then they know Sean Payton's coming back. They're going to be juiced up that game, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of those games where you could say, okay, maybe Bo might have a rookie game right here. This game might not go as well as the other, his first 6 games, right? So don't get too overblown, right? Don't get too down on yourself on this game, because it's going to be a tough game Thursday night in that Dome. I'm telling you, it's going to be rocking. Their defense is going to be flying around. Our best bet is that I don't believe in Derek Carr, right? I believe that our defense can stop him, be able to make plays. Olave versus Surtain, that's going to be a great matchup.
Fun one.
Right? Because Olave, Surtain doesn't have a real issue with the bigger receivers. But now you have a kind of slimmer guy that can run routes and he's fast, right? Yeah. So that's going to be a great matchup to watch right there. But this is going to be a tough game for Bo.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one is going to be insane. Like the energy in the building, I can already imagine. Like they're going to be very happy that Sean is back. They're going to celebrate Sean pregame. And then it's going to be just deafening noise. The silent count is going to be like Bo's best friend. That's going to be a really, really tough game. But like you said,
Yeah.
How much faith can we put into Derek Carr? Did not look very good last year. After not looking terrible in Vegas, but just did not look good last year. They drafted Spencer Rattler. Maybe Spencer Rattler starts this game. Who knows? Week 8, Carolina comes to Denver. That should be a pretty good game. Bryce Young coming in. We got to see what that team looks like the first few weeks of the season. But man, Bryce Young, despite not playing fantastic in his rookie season, not putting up fantastic numbers, he still threw the ball pretty well last year. Threw the ball well over the middle. Just got to see what that offensive line looks like. I don't know about their defense either. They kind of came around second half of the season last year, but man, just a lot of question marks with that Carolina team. I think this could be a game where Bo maybe kind of pops off, depending. Weeks 9 through 12, though, Chris. Oh, that is a gauntlet. At Baltimore, at Kansas City, Atlanta comes to Denver, and then they're at Vegas. Which two games are you just highlighting during this stretch?
Yeah, of course, Baltimore and then at KC, right? Back-to-back conference champions or conference, contenders, and playoffs every year. So it's gonna be definitely. And when you got to go to Baltimore, it's always hard to win, right? Lamar Jackson's always been a tough matchup versus Mark Andrews. There's always balled versus the Broncos, right? And I see Baltimore got better in the draft. They get a corner from Clemson, who I think is probably the best corner, body movement wise, right? But he just wasn't physical. He wasn't a great tackler, right? But where'd he go? To Baltimore, where they're going to teach you how to get physical and how to tackle. So I think Baltimore definitely improved. It's going to be a tough matchup going there. It's always tough going to KC, right? And getting the win there, right? I don't know when the last time we won in KC. Probably
was when
last time
you
I
guys
was
were
playing. So we haven't, it's been tough. It's always been tough going to Arrowhead. So if we can steal one of those, that'd be great. But it's going to be hard to win those first two in that quarter.
Yeah, and I think having to play those two teams back to back and away games is going to be extremely tough. The environment in Baltimore is fantastic. Lamar Jackson's going to be, he's going to be Lamar Jackson. He's going to be the MVP. So you just got to do your best to contain him, play really, really good against the pass because he's a good pocket passer. He's not this dude that everybody tries to make him out to be like, oh, he can only scramble or he can only throw on the run. No, he's probably one of, if not the best pocket passer in the NFL. Do not undermine him in that sense. At Kansas City, you always got to play tough at Kansas City. But man, Atlanta coming to town, I think that's going to be a fantastic test for this defense. Let's see how Kirk Cousins comes out. I think by this point, man, that offense should be clicking for Atlanta. And I think with the defensive, Raheem Morris taking over as the defense or the head coach and defensive play caller, I think that's going to be big. Let's hope that Bo Nix can tear him apart. But I think that this is going to be a bigger test for the defense than it is for the offense. They still have great defensive players over there. But, man, Atlanta coming into town, that's going to be a tough one. Chris?
I think we should win that game. We should win that game.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be with Kirk Cousins, it's always tough, especially on the secondary. He gets the ball out pretty fast. The D-line has to stay, pretty consistent with their rush, knowing that he can get the ball out fast, but you still got to rush. And about ATL, we got to stop the run, right?
Yeah.
We got to be able to stop this dynamic running back. This guy catch the ball at the backfield. He's going to be the huge key to the game on being able to stop the Falcons.
Chris, I just looked the last time that the Broncos won a game at Kansas City, September 17th, 2015.
Man.
Long time ago.
Almost 10 years, man.
A whole decade. Chris, week 13, Cleveland comes to town for Monday Night Football. I always love it when Cleveland comes to Denver because we always seem to play them pretty well in Mile High. Dominated them last year when they were one of the best defenses in the league at that point. Week 14 is the bye. 15, Indy comes to town. 16, we get the we're going to LA to face the Chargers. And then week 17 and 18, we're at Cincinnati and we have Kansas City at home. Week 14 bye, Chris. That's tough. That's really tough. And it's tough on players. Speak about that. I know you wanted to talk about that and how that can possibly be a grueling time for players.
Yeah. I mean, it's always tough, especially if you have a bye in week 14. You don't really get that full week of rest. But I see the NFL did give them a Thursday night game on week 7. So you kind of you get an extra day, extra 2 days right there, right? But that's not as good as the bye week. And having it in week 14, especially for a rookie quarterback, a guy that's just, he had how many games they play in college football?
Man, I think 12 altogether.
12?
Yeah,
like 12 altogether.
Regular season, and then like 2 to 3 more if you get into the playoffs.
Right now, he has to go from that to straight 14 games straight. Right, yeah. That could be an adjustment. So, I don't like the bye. I don't like the schedule. They did hard by Denver. With the schedule making. Man. I think they just said, "Who cares what they have?" We think this year's a wash. Just put them anywhere. And especially only 2 primetime games. And those are the 2 primetime games I think everybody in the NFL gets. A Thursday night and a Monday night game. So they didn't really show the Broncos any favors with the schedule or, with the bye. So, of course, as a player, I'm always mad. I want that bye. You, as a player, you want the bye like week 6, 7. And then you got a Thursday night game like at the end, 15. Or you want the Thursday night game early, knock it out early, right? And then get you a bye probably like week 12, 13. So, that's the best as a player, best situation. But, I see they try to give us a little bone with the week 7 Thursday night game.
Yeah. Indianapolis coming to Denver. This one's tough for me to gauge because I feel like if Anthony Richardson makes it to this point, which let's hope he does because he's fantastic to watch. This will be an incredible test for Denver's defense as well. Going to LA, you're going to have to face Harbaugh and Herbert late in the season. I don't really love that. Let's hope that Joe Burrow lasts to week 17. I mean, they invested in an offensive lineman in the draft, so hopefully he makes it to that point. But Cincinnati is one of those teams that, perennial playoff team, having to go there late in the season. That's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough. And then, of course, finishing off the season with Kansas City at home. I feel like they always do this to us. Last year we didn't get that, but I feel like the last few years before that, it was Kansas City at home, final game of the season every year.
Right. Yeah, that Colts game is going to be interesting. Hopefully Richardson is healthy and balling out this year because, he definitely has the talent. And I like what they're doing with the young pieces that they're building around on offense. So it's going to be a tough game, but at home, we got to protect the house, right? And I think that's definitely a winnable game. I'm not sold on their defense, so I think Bo Nix, Cortland, those guys, Mims can make some plays versus the Colts. Playing and then back it up, another winnable game going to LA. I'm still not sold on the Chargers defense. I'm sold on Khalil Mack and Bosa, but we don't know what else they have and Derwin James. Other than that, that's it.
Sante Samuel Jr. has been up and down. They did. I mean, they got that linebacker from Michigan, so that's a great ad for them in the middle, but still lots of holes on that defense. Chris, we're gonna get into our predictions. This is just our preliminary predictions. Maybe these will change after we see a preseason game or two. Maybe this will change after we see camp. But for right now, this is our season prediction. Okay, here we go. Chris, a lot of red for you, Chris. You have them. You got them going 0-4 to start the season. I had them splitting that little run there 2-2. I think Pittsburgh is a very winnable game, especially if if Russ and the offense are still kind of clicking. That's an early game for that offense, new offensive scheme, a bunch of new guys coming into the mix. I think that could be an opportunity for them to win the game. And then at New York, who knows if Aaron Rodgers is even going to be playing at that point? Who knows? But that's
no, we got to make it like Aaron Rodgers is here. MVP Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, man, it's going to be tough. I think that's I feel like that's like a 1 to 3 point spread in that game. Like it's either going to come down to the final minute, last second field goal. 0-4 for you to start the season, Chris. But then you got them winning those next 2 home games against the Raiders and the Chargers. What makes you feel like they're going to start that 6-game stretch at 2-4?
Just going on the road, urgency that Seattle has with Geno Smith. Geno has to win this game, right? He can't afford to start off 0-1 versus a rookie, right? Especially he's trying to keep that job, right? Pittsburgh, I think their team just been together for a while. They have more chemistry, even though Russ is new. It's just they're a more formidable team, more formidable defense right now. I just think they're just more complete on the defensive side. I'm going with the defense wins in that battle. Tampa Bay going out there, it's going to be a tough matchup. I think that is actually a winnable game, but it's Todd Bowles. Going against Todd Bowles, it's a learning experience with Bo Nix, and this is one of those learning experience games. New York is going to be tough. I like what Aaron Rodgers did with Mike Williams. That's a nice piece. And then you got the other receiver. What's his last name? Is it Davis?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, 17, right? Yeah. He's a monster, right? So, adding Mike Williams to that puzzle, man, because he struggled going against Patrick Surtain, Wilson. So now you can get him off of him. Now you got Big Mike. So I think the Jets win that game. So it's just a hard first 4 games.
Yeah, you got to think. I mean, that's a great point, Chris. Is we have to think about who's going to be across from Pat Surtain when facing off against these receivers. Even Tampa Bay, got to worry about Mike Evans. Got to worry about Chris Godwin. Got to worry about the other guys that are in that room as well. Pittsburgh has Pickens, and then they've picked up some guys throughout the offseason. And then Seattle's got those 3 guys that we talked about already. Like, are we going to trust Levi Wallace to be like super consistent against like all 4 of those teams? I don't think so.
I'm looking at the matchups, man.
yeah. And that's completely fair and valid. You got the Raiders. Raiders game is a win for both of us. You have them winning the game against LA. I have them losing the home game against LA. And then let's go to New Orleans. Chris, you've got them losing that game. You kind of explained that. That's going to be a loud, rocking game. Yeah. I have them winning that game. I don't know about Derek Carr. That's kind of where my head was at. And I think that would be a really good win for Sean. But I think back to last season and how we talked about them going to Buffalo and trying to make a statement with that game. I feel like that game is going to be Sean Payton's statement game. That's going to be the one where he's like,
New Orleans. I'm telling you, when I tell you, being inside that building,
you tell me
they're going to try. That's going to be a bat game for them. Everybody's going to get bats. Dennis Allen's going to try to prove a point on defense that game versus Sean Payton. I'm telling you, that's going to be a tough game for Bo Nix. That's the only reason why I'm going with the Saints at home, because they're going to be riled up when Sean Payton comes back.
Big time. We both have the Broncos beating Carolina at home. I think that's as of right now, we got to base it off of what we saw last year with that team. And then the gauntlet stretch that we talked about: Baltimore, Kansas City, Atlanta. I have them losing all 3 of those games. I just don't know how they're I don't know how that offense is going to operate against Baltimore's defense, and then going against Kansas City, and then having to go up against Atlanta. I just think in the Atlanta game specifically, I think that's going to be more on the Denver defense, not so much on the offense. But man, that's a tough stretch. You have them beating Atlanta at home, losing to Baltimore and Kansas City. And then the Vegas game in Vegas, I have them winning that one. You have them losing that one. And then going into the, Monday Night Football game against Cleveland, I have them winning that one. You have them losing that one. Why do you have the Broncos losing at home against Cleveland?
I think Cleveland's going to be a conference contender. They're going to be up there with the Baltimores, with the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals, trying to make that, being in that contender spot. Their defense played great last year. I can only expect those guys to continue to get better because they're a fairly young defense. Sean Watson coming back. The reason why Denver, you can say that Denver killed them is because they didn't have their quarterback playing. I think they had their backup playing.
PJ, I think it was PJ Walker, and then
I don't even think Flacco played. I don't even think Flacco was in yet. So and then I see the success they had with Flacco, and they're in a tight game with Houston. So I see Cleveland as going to be a tough, and they get the running back this year, right? We can't. You forgot about him coming back, right? He didn't play last year. Yeah, Chubb's back this year, right? Point. So that's why I got Cleveland winning that game. You see, you forgot about Chubb's coming back.
I did. I forgot about Chubb coming back. That's a good point. And then the last four, Chris, of course, there's the Week 14 bye, and then the last four, Indy at Los Angeles, at Cincinnati, Kansas City at home. I have them splitting those four games. I've got them losing to Indianapolis at home, but only if Anthony Richardson is playing. If Anthony Richardson isn't playing in that game, I think we'll be okay. You have them beating the Colts at home. I love that. I have them beating LA in LA. You have them losing to LA. Yeah, it's like we talked about this last year too. Yeah, it's the split. And like it's always like we lose at home, but then we beat them on the road, and then like the next year it's flip-flopped. So that's where I was going with that. We have both of us have them losing at Cincinnati late in the season. I think that's the right direction. Cincinnati's usually like in full stride by this point. So that's going to be really tough game for Bo and company. And then the final game of the season, Chris, at home against Kansas City. You have Denver losing that game. I have Denver winning that game because I think that prediction. Hey, man, I think at that point in the season, if Kansas City is just in full on, like we're still the Super Bowl champions, we're still, everything's clicking. Maybe, hopefully they rest. I don't think they will, but there's still that chance that Denver has Denver's defense shows out at that point in the season. Like we remember the second Kansas City game last year when we beat them at home. That was like the defense just locked in and they were just playing fantastic football. I really hope that that's the same case this year, but Chris, you have them losing all three of those last three games. Your final
KC game.
It's going to be tough.
This is where the schedule makers, they set us up right here, right? Because KC, the AFC is going to be a tight race. KC, there's no resting now with the AFC. There's no, I'm gonna sit these guys out because Baltimore's going to have a great record.
Yeah.
Bills are still going to be close. Cincinnati's going to be better. Cleveland's gonna be better. It's not gonna be a blowout anymore. The Chiefs aren't just way ahead of better than everybody. You know what I mean?
Miami's gonna be up there.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be they get rest. So playing them the last week of the year, which could have first round implications, bye implications, seeding implications in the playoffs. I don't think KC is gonna take Broncos lightly. So that's the reason why I picked KC, having them on that last game.
Yeah, completely valid. I think that if we see another game like we saw last year in that second Kansas City game, I think there's definitely a chance. But I think the offense is going to look completely different for Kansas City at this point in the season. Xavier Worthy is going to be fully integrated into the offense. That's going to be a huge
Hollywood Brown.
downfield threat. Yeah, Hollywood's going to be getting going.
Rice will
Kelsey
be back.
will be in. Yeah, Rice should be back by then. We'll see.
He's not in
what
jail.
happens.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, he's not yet.
He definitely has a hard case to, on him. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. Did the NFL suspend him yet?
Not yet, but then I guess he punched the photographer at a club in Dallas a couple weeks ago. So who knows, man? It's gonna be just keep your nose clean, bro.
Hey, man, go buy your PS5, get your Xbox, man, get some headphones, bro, and just go relax, man. Just go stay in the house, man. That's it.
I think James Palmer said it's going to be like a 6 or 8 game suspension. We'll see. But that is your 2024 Broncos schedule and our Broncos predictions. Let us know what you think about the predictions. Let us know what you think that the record's going to be. Chris, your official record for the Broncos in 2024, 5-12. Mine is 9-8. I think I'm being a little too optimistic, maybe. But
yeah,
that's okay. It's okay to be a little optimistic. I think, we won 8 games last year with a completely different squad. I added some pieces. We've got a little bit more gel with the offensive line now. I think it'll be okay. But still optimistic for 9-8. 5-12. I could definitely see that too. Let us know what you think about the Broncos schedule. Let us know what you think about the Broncos schedule video. I didn't like it. Chris, what did you think about it?
Yeah, we got to definitely upgrade our, our media content, but that's never been like Denver's thing. When I got to LA, they were huge on that. They wanted to compete. They wanted to be, always be the most entertaining, the most engaged, because they had to do that, right? To keep the followers engaged, to keep the guys in there. So we'll see. Denver's fans always be there, right? They're like, oh, we're always going to sell out, so we can just be lazy with this.
Yeah, man, they need to do better next year. But let us know in the comments. Send us a message on Twitter. Make sure that you subscribe to this show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Again, this is Bleav in the Broncos, sponsored by Bet Online on the Bleav Network. Follow Chris and I on Twitter at Chris Harris Jr., at Patrick Chiotti, at Bleav Network. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube as well. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. Until next time, Broncos country, we'll see you.